internal components is something that you are. So your self-awareness, your expertise, your authenticity, that's who you are. The external components are how you demonstrate it.
Okay.
So when it comes to Gravitas, you want to be able to use all 6 components, but this isn't about being 10 out of 10 with all of them, because that wouldn't be authentic or achievable. But it's about being able to leverage the strengths that you've got, but then also, if you're bad at connecting with people, or if you're not good at projecting, you're not good at, if you haven't got that presence and that visibility, I'll go through the details of the external components in a minute, you won't be able to demonstrate the strengths that you have. So for people who are wanting to look at their self-awareness, then it's about, well, really reflecting, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, getting feedback, because we tend to underestimate our strengths. So get feedback from your colleagues on what they see that you're good at. Then it's about expertise. It's really honing your expertise and making sure that it's relevant to the audience that you're talking to, but also making sure that you're demonstrating it. And then authenticity is about being yourself, but learning the skills of what I call managed authenticity, which is about this ability to flex. Right, so we'll move on to the external components of the wheel now, which are presence, connection, and projection. So can you see the screen now? Yeah, okay, yeah. Cool. All right, so presence. Now, presence is another weird one, isn't it? Because we know when someone's got presence, because we notice them. And we don't know when someone hasn't got presence, because, you know, they kind of fade into the background. So what is presence? What is visibility? What is impact? And again, all of this can be learned. So if we are the kind of person who find it difficult to have that impact and visibility, there are a whole load of choices that you can make and learn around how you stand, how you hold yourself, how you use your body language, how you use your gestures, how you use your eye contact, how you connect with people in the room, what you choose to wear. You know, I'm wearing a bright orange blouse, so people are going to notice me more than if I were wearing a grey one that just faded into the background. So presence is about your visibility, and you can dial it up or you can dial it down. So again, when it comes to pitching, depending on who you are pitching to, they might be the kind of client that want you to be like, you know, big and impactful and energetic and bring that charisma and pizzazz, but they might also be the kind of prospective client that would be totally freaked out by that. So you then would then compare that back. It's about being appropriate. If you're only talking to one person, of course, you're not going to be at the front of the room like doing the massive sell. But if you were talking to a big group of people and you know that you're third agency in, then you're going to need to bring a bit more of that energy. So we've got presence. Again, see how all these things are a choice and that they can be learned. And then you've got connection. Now, connection is ultimately, yeah, the rapport that you build with people in the room. And that's not a given. I mean, we tend to like people who are like us. And generally in a pitch situation, we'll gravitate to and speak to the person who's kind of nodding and listening and, you know, giving you all the kind of lovely feedback that you want. But if we just present to that one person, then we're not going to get the connection with the wider group. So it's about connecting with the whole audience that you're talking to. And then finally, you've got projection. So projection is about your ability to get your voice heard. So it's about how do you, if you're speaking to a large group, or you're noticing that maybe it's just before lunch and people are getting a bit tired or hangry, is how do you kind of increase the volume of your voice, or how do you maximize your gestures? How do you amplify your energy so that you get the connection that you need? So those are the 3 external components there. We underestimate our strengths. And so that's where imposter syndrome comes in and lack of confidence comes in, is we don't think that we're as good as we actually are. So feedback and really listening to and believing the positive stuff is just as valuable as understanding where your Achilles heels are. That being said, It's excruciating. People hate it. But what's also really, really helpful is if you film yourself pitching or presenting, and then you'll see very quickly if you say 45 ums in the first 2 minutes, or if you're wildly gesticulating, or you're fiddling with your hair, or you've got some kind of nervous tic that happens that you're just not aware of. So feedback is incredibly valuable for that. The key thing is to try and practice as much as you can. So you don't have to just wait until the pitch room to practice communicating. So I would build in as much opportunities for people to present and stand up in front of a group as they possibly can. So it becomes much more second nature. That's one of the important things. And then what we're talking about here is how you manage your nerves in the scenario itself, and how do you crowd out some of that unhelpful thinking that otherwise can really derail you. It could be equally, oh my God, you know, that they were frowning, or they just picked up their phone, and oh my God, it must be really boring. Oh, you know, and then you go into this whole thing and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy then. So preparation is critical. And like I was saying before, rehearsal will really help iron out some of that stuff. But what people can also do to manage their mindset, and this is for life in general, not just for pitching, is if you notice that perhaps you are your own worst, harshest critic, and when you listen to the dialogue in your head, it's like, whoa, you know, you wouldn't say that to anybody, let alone, you know, oof, it's intense. Then what we need to do, because the brain hates a vacuum, if you can't just eliminate that kind of thinking, those sort of self-limiting beliefs. What you need to do then is replace it with something else. So that's where the self-awareness really, really helps. So with self-awareness and working with a coach or with a mentor or a manager, to start really looking at what are your strengths, and then start saying, have a little mantra that goes on in your head when you notice these unhelpful thoughts, rather than thinking, oh God, I'm really nervous, and oh, you know, all the agencies were better than me, and we're not rehearsed enough, oh, I'm really tired, all this. You'd have a mantra which is, I'm ready, I know what I'm talking about, and this is going to be brilliant. And then you notice the impact that has on your state. It's amazing how, in choosing to take control of our thinking, how that will naturally then affect our physical, our emotional state, and then how we show up in the room and how people respond to us.